So there are lots of programs for access to education. So it's about getting children into schools. The big question is what happens once they're in schools. So we believe in solutions being very user-centric and being very inclusive so that it can then be embedded within a state system or a district system.
So today we're joined in conversation with Mr. Girish Menon, who has recently joined Stir Education as the CEO after 5 years as Chief Executive at the ActionAid UK. He brings more than 30 years of experience as a leader in international development sector, having previously held roles as International Program Director and Deputy CEO at WaterAid UK, where he was responsible for programs in 22 countries across Sub-Saharan Africa and South Asia. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Girish. It's a pleasure to have you today.
Thank you very much, Deepak. It's a pleasure to speak to you today as well.
Indeed. And to begin with the conversation, so how is it that the Stir Education as an organization is working to develop a love of, lifelong learning in children in India?
Great. So the vision of Stir Education is that all children develop a love for lifelong learning. And Stir is being motivated by the fact that when children come to school, so there are lots of programs for access to education. So it's about getting children into schools. The big question is what happens once they're in schools? How do they remain engaged? How do they remain motivated? How do they learn? And how do they leave the education system fully understanding and having tapped into their potential? So that's what has actually been the motivating factor for STIR. So we believe in reigniting what we call intrinsic motivation amongst teachers and amongst officials so that they're able to inculcate this love for lifelong learning.
Wonderful. And that's amazing to hear that, you're just making them self-motivated rather than having to push them to be able to, understand the importance of education that way.
Exactly. It's also important to say that when we talk about education, the traditional or the limiting sense seems to be around the academics, which is very important. So obviously, as parents, you want to see your children succeed in languages, in maths, in science, in history, etc. But what we believe is that there's a wider purpose to education. This world is increasingly a challenging world. There are so many what we refer to as unknown unknowns. You don't know what's coming around the corner, like who predicted COVID, for instance, and all that COVID has actually brought the world to a whole, standstill stop. So it's very important to prepare children for that world. It's important to prepare children for the role of citizenship that they play. It's important for them to recognize that each one of them has a potential which goes beyond your academics. So academics are absolutely important, but it's about the role that you play in your community and in your country going forward. The one thing that we always quote is a Confederation of Indian Industry report, which actually says that only 50% of young people in India are employable. So there's a big question, why is that the case? If they have been through our educational system, something is not working, but something is working for a few others, which is why our focus is on the public education system, which is the government schools, because that's where children from the more marginalized family or deprived families or people who are normally on the margins of society, that's where they go to. They don't have access to fee-paying private schools. So that's the key part of our intervention.
Amazing. And like you just mentioned that there are a lot of unknowns that the world today faces, and specifically for children. I mean, like the last year, a lot of institutions just let it go as a wasted year for students for multiple reasons. So pandemic was one of those. And then again, the new education policy that came across, it redefined the way education needs to be disseminated to the students now. So how do you think that in such a situation or a scenario where there's too many of unknowns happening, so how can we keep the learning going and, unhindered for the students that are there in the classrooms?
That's a great question, Deepak, and it also speaks to the core of our work. So at STIR, we recognize the key role that teachers play. Now, often, as you'll understand in our education system, while we talk about the importance of teachers, they don't get the same importance or status in society as, let's say, an IT expert or a doctor or an engineer. So it's a common question that even teachers ask in a classroom, what do you want to be when you grow up, a doctor or an engineer? She or he would rarely ask, do you want to be a teacher? And that kind of says a little bit about the status of teachers in society. So our focus has been on how do you empower teachers, how do you motivate teachers, and how you bring back the significance of the role of the teachers. And that has proved up again and again during the pandemic, where we feel that if the students have to be reached out to, if there is some form of a connection that can be maintained, it has to be through empowering teachers and equipping them with ways in which A, they retain their motivation, and B, they're able to engage with children. So what we have done is we have created a number of virtual products. In some cases, for example, in Tamil Nadu, we have worked on videos because that seemed to work well for them. In Delhi, where we work, it's not been that difficult because many teachers had access to online platforms. So the focus of our work during the pandemic, so we work across 3 states, in Delhi, in Karnataka, and Tamil Nadu. The focus of our intervention, therefore, was to keep the network of teachers going. That's the key part of our work. Teachers, peer networks, which is where they come and talk about their issues, their challenges, share ideas, and come up with what's called a learning improvement cycle or a learning improvement plan so that they can implement that in the classrooms. So we try to keep that focus on the teachers so that they remain motivated, they remain engaged. We know that during a pandemic, they would have a lots of challenges in their own lives. So how do you make sure that there is a safe space so they can come and talk about the challenges so that they remain connected with the children? So that's what we are learning from. So once the schools reopen and the children are back, we'll try to look at what's the power of some of those virtual mechanisms and approaches we have used.
Great. And taking this conversation ahead as, teachers as a stakeholder, as an important one rather, at that. So STIR Education also supports, governments to employ practical strategies that promote positive behaviors in teachers and officials alike. So what enables these changes to become embedded in government's approach to education, and how does an organization like STIR leverage such partnerships to scale the impact that it's trying to make?
Absolutely. One of the key things we work on is about behavior change. And changing the culture and practices within the education system, for which a key principle that we adopt is that of role modeling. Now, we recognize, therefore, the very important relationship that education officials and teachers have. Traditionally, that is a supervisory kind of a role that officials play, where they go to inspect whether the classes are running and whether the teachers are performing. We've tried to work around that, so not to undermine that supervisory role that they have to play, but it's about their role as a coach, as a supervisor, as a trusted friend, as a colleague, so that they are seen as coming in for more of a supportive role rather than a supervisory role. So coming in as a coach rather than as an inspector. And that is a huge change in the behavior, because we again recognize that if teachers have to be empowered, if teachers have to be valued for what they do, the system around them also has to be supportive, and the education officials play a very important role in that. So there's a program that we have within the STIR system, where you have at the district level what we refer to as education leader managers. So they could be at the district level or at the block level, and then at the next level we have got education leads. So these are teachers who are selected through a small process so that they can be seen as champions of changing some of those practical strategies, or implementing those strategies. Very important of that work, therefore, is about coaching, it's about peer network, it's about reflection, it's about learning, and therefore continuous improvement.
Great. And like you just touched upon these, points of continuous improvement and assessment. It just trickles down to assessment in the school system eventually. So how is it that you're assessing your, initiatives and your dissemination in your programs, that it's delivering the impact that you intend to create through those?
Absolutely. So the approach is that of what we call systems learning partnerships, because we believe that we on our own, at the end of the day, we are a very small organization. So we on our own cannot make some of the big systemic changes that we need within an education system in any given state or a district. So right from day one, we work in partnership with the state government and the district government, we undertake a process of co-creation so that we look at all the data together. So we try to understand what is the scale of the challenge, what is the reach, what's the coverage. And then we use the government data systems, but we also have our own systems of looking at where changes are happening or where changes are not happening, where progress is slow, and analyze the data together so that it's not seen as a stirred data or a government data. We try to complement all the information sources we have. We have what's called district alignment meetings and state alignment meetings so that we're able to look at it together. When we plan a training program, we again go through a co-creation process. So it's about, what are the key challenges that you're facing as teachers or officials? How can we find the right solutions? So we believe in solutions being very user-centric and being very inclusive so that it can then be embedded within a state system or a district system. And we were quite encouraged when we did a review of our program in Delhi, where one of the evaluations actually suggested that just 2 years after our approach had been implemented, it had been deeply embedded and positively contributed to state system reform efforts. So that's an exact quote from an external evaluation report. And that has happened only because of the principles of partnership, of relationship building, of role modeling, and through this process of co-creation so that it's seen as something that we all own together. So it's not just a STIR thing, but STIR would like to work in partnership with the state government and the district government towards a common goal.
And, this aspect of working in partnership is something that I feel personally, and even a lot of individuals in the development space, that is something that everyone needs to focus more on, since in any given theme, there are multiple organizations working on the same problem in multiple manners. So the more they share, the more everyone can learn from and probably get a way ahead than just starting from scratch again on the same problem and the issue.
I agree. Yeah. There was at the recent Delhi Education Conference, for instance, there was a presentation by the Delhi government which talked about, of course, the vision that the Delhi government has, but also bringing in 3 or 4 other organizations who've been working in partnership with the Delhi government, and we were very pleased that STIR was one of them.
Great. And talking about your personal experiences, since you've also had this, I would say, a culturally diverse experience, holding, senior level positions in other development sector organizations across the world. So how do you see if there's any difference in the way the problem is approached in the country and by the counterparts of, the similar organizations in India as compared to the ones, say, in London or in the UK?
Yes, in India, the big issue is that of scale. It's a very large country and there are many states. So we are very conscious of the fact that every state has got a very distinctive socio-cultural approach or a political approach. So we are very conscious of the fact that the frameworks in each state will be very different. So for example, in Uganda, a lot of work starts with the national ministry, and then it percolates down to the district level. So it's national level at the top level, and then it comes down to the district level. And given the size and the coverage of the country, it's better to do that at a national level. Whereas in India, to work at a national level is very important, and we'll continue to seek opportunities to work with the Ministry of HRD. But we also recognize that given the size and the expanse, but also the fact that education, the state also plays a very important role as well as a center. It's then trying to contextualize it at the level of each state. So what we find is that our approaches in each of the 3 states, Delhi, Tamil Nadu, and Karnataka, are very different. The principles are all the same. So the principles are all about systems-wide partnership, of working on co-creation, role modeling, behavior change, culture change. All those principles are there. But in terms of actual practice, they are very different because we work with the state government machinery. So that's a key difference that I see if I were to compare our experience in India with our experience in Uganda.
Great. And now just sort of concluding the whole conversation up. So is there any particular vision that the organization is looking forward to achieve in this year, or say a set of years from now? And would there be any specific themes or topics that you would personally want to touch upon as the current CEO of the organization?
Thank you, Deepak. That's something that's been top on my mind as I'm still new to this role. What I'm really fascinated about is our strategy for 2025, where we talk of two things. We talk of sustainability and we talk of scaling up. And I'll just unpack that a little bit. We are saying that we need to be focusing on sustainability because anything that we do has to be embedded within the government education system, and we have a clear time frame. We have a progress pathway which is for 5 years. We have clear milestones on what happens in each geography in 5 years, and then our plan is to then exit from that geography and take that experience elsewhere. But before we go, we just would like to work with the state government to make sure that is embedded. So whether it's about a training program, whether it's about an approach, whether it's about the principles, or indeed a monitoring and evaluation, we would like to work with the state government to have that embedded within there, within the system, so that even when STIR is moved out, we won't completely disconnect. We'll still have some kind of what we call a central learning partnership, but that'll be purely for a learning and a lighter touch partnership rather than much more the implementation, and then we move to other parts because we feel that there's merit in moving to other experiences and other geographies as well. So that sustainability is really important, for which we are currently in discussions with the state governments on setting up what we call a lifelong learning unit, which will actually be managed by the state government officials together with the district government officials, where we play a supportive role, more like an advisor rather than an implementer. So that's wholly owned by the state system. It's a fascinating concept because in many organizations that I've worked with, sustainability is important, but it comes at a much later stage. We are trying to sort of front load our sustainability discussions. And the second one is on scaling up. So in India, between now and 2025, based on the experiences in 3 states, we are looking forward to work in at least 2 more states by 2025. We have some very ambitious targets. So for example, currently in India, we have reached out since 2012, we have reached out to 180,000 teachers. We'd like to reach out to 10 lakh teachers by 2025. So far, we have reached out to 47 lakh children. We would like to actually reach out to 3 crore children. So that's the plan. And for that, we are working on 2 ways. One is about how we do it ourselves. So for example, going into at least 2 more states, but also underneath that, a process of what we call amplification. So we can work with other partners, or we can support existing governments in the system to expand that program on their own without any STIR direct engagement, but more like a partnership. So that's our vision. Globally, we expect to reach out to 6 crore children. We currently are at 60 lakh. So from 60 lakh, we would like to go to 6 crore children. We are currently in discussions with governments in Indonesia and Ethiopia to start up programs there. And once the MOU gets signed with the respective governments, which is very important from our perspective, so it's not just a technical registration. We really like that ownership and that engagement from the beginning. And then we're also thinking of Brazil and Egypt as 2 other countries. So by 2025, potentially 6 countries. And we're also hoping that each one of those countries could be a hub for the region. So for example, India could be a hub potentially for Nepal or potentially for Bangladesh. So, we don't have to go and create the same system everywhere. It's about how we spread that message, spread those principles and approaches so that we have what's called an amplifying effect, of course, through a system of partnership, because without partnerships, we won't be doing anything else.
Great. And it's great to hear the way that you don't want to, redo the same thing again and again. Rather, diversify by collaborating with more organizations in the same space, which would be a wonderful way to amplify your effort, as well as, strengthen the ones that are already there on the ground in the other states working on the same problem. And that brings us to the close of the conversation. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Girish. It's been a pleasure to have you today.
Thank you, Deepak. A pleasure to talk to you as well. And good luck with all your endeavors.
Thank you so much. And same to you.